Wherefore, Series 2, Episode 41. Ditchley Yat takes its folk customs very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that practices do not have to be ancient before they can be revered. The annual shrew singing contest is less than 100 years old, and is taken very seriously indeed, even though in all its time no shrew has actually sung. It's not really about the singing, more the joining in, and the cider, or the beer, or the fermented peas pottage that occasionally causes people to have visions, although whether that is a fair trade-off for the taste is another question entirely. There is a kind of natural selection process when it comes to the durability of traditions. The customs that do best, irrespective of age, are the ones that go best with food and drink and revelry, and that are also easy to remember. The Festival of the Bell only lasted for a few years because the verses were too complicated, and processing a bloody great bell along a convoluted muddy field route in November turns out to be more muddy than is generally found entertaining. There are a few enduring traditions that don't have a fixed place in the calendar, but which instead happen at need, as with the afternoon activity that is getting out the ducking stool, and the occasional warming and expressive community action that is burning a wicker man. Ditch swimming contests can only be held when the temperature and water level is just right. Ditch skating championships only happen in very cold years, and sometimes not even then, depending on what else is using the ditches. There used to be a good old Ditchley tradition of trying people out for sainthood. The records are scanty, but the gist of it involves following a person round to see if they perform any miracles, or harassing them to death with kitchen implements if they do not. This leads to options on sitting around with the body for a while in case that performs any miracles. Duration of sitting depends mostly on how cold it is. For variation, sitting around the grave in the hopes of a miracle is also a possibility. For their own reasons, the parishioners of Ditchley Yat seldom seem to find virtue a reason for imagining someone might be a saint. Speculation has it that what they really want is a patron saint of the bloody annoying, and that they select their victims accordingly. Ditchley is fond of miracles. Alongside the miracle of the singing shrews and the miracle of the peas pottage, they also acknowledge the miracle of the Wellington boot, the miracle of the Wednesday that happened twice, and the miracle of the wooden spoons. There are numerous contested miracles in addition to these, where some locals believe in them and others do not. Disputed miracles can be the basis of family feuds lasting generations. This year for Midwinter, Ditchley Yat is mostly celebrating the Yule badger as an emblem of the reborn sun. Depictions of badgers with halos adorn the walls in many homes. Offerings of eggs are made because an egg yolk is like the sun, and because badgers very much like eggs. There will also be offerings of shoes, because if the Yule badger is not given enough shoes, he will help himself to your footwear and chew off the heels. This is not a folk belief, this is a well-tested fact. The Yule badger will also steal your chickens if he gets half a chance. Said Yule badger is further placated by offerings of beer and peanuts, which are helpfully consumed by someone dressed up to play the part of the seasonal badger. How actual badgers feel about this part of the celebration is unknown, but they would certainly prefer raw peanuts to the dry, roasted ones brought in from beyond the borders of the valley. This year, the locals are also experimenting with pom bears and cheesy snakes. The general feeling is that this is a step too far into levity and should not be repeated. To keep a tradition properly alive, you can't just keep doing the same things, of that there is no doubt. Some years the Yule badger gives out gifts. Sometimes he chases children he has taken against and puts them in a sack, or whacks them with withes, or eats them. The last one is always an explicit threat, but it is hard to find a local who is willing to say anything definitive about whether the Yule badger has ever actually eaten a child. Apparently they did try making a sacrificial child out of sausages one year, but it all got a bit out of hand, and no one likes to talk about it too much. All traditions are worthy of respect, especially new ones, as they probably need it more. It all has to start somewhere, and it is best not to invite the wrath of the Yule Badger.